In this video, we will discuss the concepts behind reaction mechanisms. Some reactions takes place in a single step like this for example. As you can see, the reaction happens only in a single step. The hydrogen bond is broken and the OH bond is formed. However, most chemical reactions do not happen in a single step. As for example, this does not mean nitrogen dioxide and carbon monoxide immediately, in one step, transform into nitrogen monoxide and carbon dioxide. In fact, these reactants undergo a multi-step process to be changed into the product. In reality, this is what happened to the reactants. As we can see, there are different steps that happen before the expected product is created. These steps are called the elementary steps, and the step-by-step path, way by which this reaction occurs is the reaction mechanism.
Now, you may wonder what the slow and fast labels are for. This is just to indicate the speed of the reaction in that step. For our example, this step is the slow step. So what is its significance? The slow step is the rate determining step, which means the rate of this whole equation is nearly equal to the slow step's rate. For analogy, imagine you're ordering some fries from McDonald's. Let's assume here that the preparation of the fries is a reaction. In preparing fries, there are two main parts, the cooking and putting the fries to its container to be ultimately given to a customer. The cooking of the fries here is the slow step of the reaction since it takes a relatively long time to cook them, while putting the fries to their container is just the fast step. In the same way, the cooking of the fries is like the rate determining step of the whole reaction because the time it took to cook the fries dictated the overall rate of the whole process. Now, let's go back to the equation before. As you can see, dinitrogen tetroxide is produced in the first step but is consumed at the second step. Such a species is called a reaction intermediate. Since it was created and later used up, it did not affect the overall reaction and thus we cancel it. However, since a molecule of nitrogen dioxide is used up at the first step but was then produced at the second step, it also doesn't affect the overall reaction and we also cancel it out. This leaves us with the overall reaction. For a mechanism to be plausible, the steps should add to give the equation for the overall reaction like the slide before. Another criterion that should be met is to have the equation abide to the experimentally determined rate law expression. For our example, the rate law expression of the equation is rate equals K multiplied to the concentration of nitrogen dioxide squared. This perfectly fits because the slow step's rate law expression is equal to the overall rate law expression. We already have established that the slow step's rate dictates the overall rate, which means both equations can be modified rate law expressions. So how does the slow step dictate the overall reaction? Let us review our analogy. In frying of the fries, we have to wait, while putting it into its container and giving it to us is almost done instantaneously. The time it takes in packaging the fries is relatively small that it is negligible, and thus we disregarded it. This is why the slow step dictates the overall reaction rate. Going back to our example, this step is like the frying of the fries. This step is relatively a lot longer than the fast step. The fast step is almost instantaneous that we disregard it, so ultimately, the overall rate is nearly equal to the rate of the slowest step of the reaction. Okay, so this is another example right here. We have hydrogen added to iodine monochloride to become iodine and 2 moles of hydrochloric acid. Now, we have the rate of each elementary step as shown. In this reaction, hydrogen iodide is the reaction intermediate, which means it was produced but was later used up. Since it will not affect the overall reaction, we cancel it out. Now, we bring down all reactants and products, and that will leave us to the overall reaction. Now that we know the mechanism is plausible for the reactants and products to add up to the overall reaction, it still needs to abide the experimentally determined rate law. Since the slow step dictates the overall rate of the reaction, the overall reaction's rate expression should be equal to the slow step's rate expression. As we can see, the overall reaction's rate expression is indeed equal to the slow step's rate expression, which means this mechanism is indeed plausible. Another thing to remember, however, is that we can never assume that a mechanism is always correct, but we can know that it is plausible. So, to recap everything, basically, all reactions don't necessarily occur in just one step. Some do more than just what the equation is showing before truly producing the products. But among these so-called elementary steps, there are certain substances that are either produced first but was consumed, or it was consumed but was produced in the end. They are the intermediates, and these intermediates makes the combination of all the elementary steps to be equal to the whole equation. And that's the end of this video. Should I even say leave a like, subscribe? No, no need, because this is just a low budget video. So maybe I'll just say we hope that at least you got something. Yes.